The Economic Advisory Council to the Prime Minister has released a working paper that sheds light on the global trend in the share of religious minorities and majorities. Over 167 countries have been examined and a time period of 65 years has been considered. According to the report, the share of the Hindu population in India decreased by 7.82%, almost 8% between 1950 and 2015, while that of the Muslims saw a 43.15% increase in the corresponding period. Now, the global media loses no opportunity to paint India as a country where Muslims are persecuted. Does this report then challenge these perceptions? And more importantly, what is the reason behind this boom in the Muslim population? Because if we examine the state of the minorities in the countries around us, the situation seems to be extremely bleak. And remember, I'm referring to clear stats. Take Bangladesh, for example, to share, some precedent. The share of the Hindu population has declined by 66%. Our neighbor in the West, Pakistan, has seen a whopping 80% decline in the share of Hindu population over the last 65 years. The situation is not too bright for minorities in Afghanistan either, or Iran for that matter, or Iraq, or even Syria, Libya, or Algeria. Meanwhile, the minority Muslims in India are thriving with a 43.15 increase in the population share. The numbers speak for themselves, and this brings us to the 5 crucial questions we want to pose today. Number 1, is a rising Muslim population in India a sign of hope or persecution? Second, do Indian Muslims realize that the fate of Hindus in Islamic nations causes a lot of fears? Number 3, why is India's record questioned on Muslims but not that of Islamic nations on Hindus? And fourth, if education and economic progress reduce fertility rates, will Vikas of Indian Muslims balance, stabilize the numbers? And last, how do we address those fearing that Muslim population rise is an Islamist demographic change push? We'll discuss this with our guest. Joining us on the show is Major Muhammad Ali Shah, defense expert. Also joining us is Dr. Syed Asad Abbas, senior political analyst. Zeenat Shaukat Ali, Islamic scholar, also joins us on the program. Thank you for being here and a part of this important discussion. Dr. Abbas, I'll begin with you. Now, there are a lot of questions that lie in my opening monologue as well. If the Western media is targeting us, calling us a nation that persecutes its minorities, especially the Muslims, then, it's a fair question to ask. What explains this rise? What explains this trend? By all standards, if this is the kind of increase that we have seen over the last 65 years, ending 2015, then there's obviously an atmosphere, an ecosystem of nurturing, there's an ecosystem of growth, and there is an ecosystem, Dr. Abbas, which does not inhibit any kind of fear in the Muslims who live in India.
The way to answer the Western media is Allama Iqbal's beautiful words. Sare jahan se acha Hindustan hamara, hum bulbule hain iske, ye gulsita hamara. I certainly have my doubts over the Western media, which has been categorizing Indian Muslims in a certain way. Undoubtedly, we as a nation should look forward progressively. Viksit Bharat in the real sense, development, vikas, sabka saath, sabka vishwas, and sabka saath. In this, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam must be of one world, one family in the right sense. But also, respected sir, now let me have my questions with the Bharatiya Janata Party government. First, the census was supposed to take place in the year 2021.
Dr. Abbas, don't do this. Dr. Abbas, let's not do this. Let's not do this. This is not what we're addressing. You clearly know you're deviating from the topic. You're deviating from the topic.
Sir.
Come on. No, I won't allow you to do that. Unless you answer my question, I'm not going to let you speak. You have to answer the question at hand. Are Muslims in India thriving or not? Is this the reason, that they are thriving? That there is no oppression, there is no persecution. There is absolute an ecosystem. Not even forget about the BJP. There were, of course, governments in the past as well under which this data is still valid, including the BJP. Why would it then be a problem? Let's not talk about the BJP or what they do or the census. Just let's address the bull by the horns.
Absolutely. Since we are talking about the Economic Advisory Council and this report, I have my doubts about the report. I certainly have my questions on the report. Why? Because why is the report coming in now? From the year 1950 to 2015, you've done a survey.
So we are not doubting
fact
the
is,
report. We
this is not a
are
reliable
discussing
information.
why this report sheds light on a facet, on a fact which, okay, forget about the fact that it's 40
just
plus
make my
percent.
point, Vinit,
Forget about
sir.
the fact that it's 40 plus percent. You know, what if it's even 30%? What if it's even 20%? It's still higher than the population growth of Hindus in our country. What does that tell you? Just answer that for me.
Okay. What it tells me is I have my doubts, grave doubts on this report. Why? Because a 2021-22 census was supposed to be done. We are in the year 2024.
No.
The census is not done. Any day, you can ask this question to even Pradhan Mantri Modi ji. There is a fact that census report has empirical data, substantial evidence, forms, groups, formulae, a complete strategy. This is only
Dr.
a work
Abbas,
paper
let's
series
assume,
which cannot be taken
let's
seriously.
pretend that this
Also,
report is
Vinit
right.
sir,
Let's pretend this report is
please.
right.
Allow me just a minute, please. The fact of the matter here is the BJP is losing this election battle. So they want to do Hindu-Muslim. I seriously question the timing on this report. Not just that, this is only a work paper series, sir. There is no empirical data. I was in the same debate with the BJP spokesperson. When I questioned, where is your empirical data? Where is the empirical evidence? On what grounds has this done? As a matter of fact, the same.
Okay, answer this question for me, Dr. Abbas.
123.
Answer this
Yes.
question, Dr. Abbas.
Yes.
Don't you think that Hindu minorities have been persecuted in Islamic countries?
Of course, absolutely, especially in countries like Pakistan.
And in
There are no
comparison
two
to
ways about
those,
it. In
don't you think,
Afghanistan,
in comparison to what Hindus had to face in these countries, don't you think that Muslims are better off in India?
we need as a matter of fact, in the years to come, we are already the second largest majority of Muslims in the world in India. Only after Indonesia. The fact is, that is why I answered the Western media saying, "Sare jahan se acha Hindustan hamara, hum bulbule hain iske ye gulsita hamara." In fact, our Prophet Muhammad speaks of, hubbul watan, love for your country, live for your country, your patriotism towards your country. Undoubtedly, there are certain cases, but largely, I think we Muslims, Hindus together live in this beautiful land. There could be isolated incidents which is uncalled for, unsafe. I come from Karnataka. There has been a lot of hijab, halal, so on and so forth, Hindu-Muslim done here by the BJP government here previously. But let me tell you, largely, India as a nation is a thriving nation.
Okay.
India as a nation speaks of Hindu-Muslim, this Ganga Jamna Tehzeeb coming together. But the fact is, sir, International Labour Organization gave a report, 83% of India's youth are unemployed. Price rise, inflation, farmers' agitation. Keeping all this in mind, sir, BJP would like to come out with their life.
Okay, we are not talking about the BJP. This show is not about the
BJP.
BJP. This show is not about the BJP.
This is
Zina
sir,
Chaukat Ali.
BJP has
Okay,
sent out this
yeah,
report,
all right,
sir.
okay, all right,
So
all
this
right.
is,
Okay, no.
an election gimmick of the BJP,
This is
sir.
apples and oranges. Zina Chaukat Ali,
No, sir.
I'd like your opinion on this. Well, we've also spoken about the economic factors and education factors that are directly correlated to each other. The more the education level, the less the fertility rates and the population of a particular community. Do you think that is something which the Muslim community also needs to understand? And it's a facet of a very large problem that, of course, the majority Hindus also need to understand, that there is help required, and unless you beckon that help, nobody can help you.
The fertility rate has actually
One second.
Muslims.
Dr. Abbas, that question is for Zina Chaukat Ali.
Oh, okay. Please go ahead.
Thank you
Please
so
go ahead.
much for inviting me to the show. Thank you so much, Vinit. You see, there are multiple aspects in the kind of question you are posing to me. The first thing is I would like to say is that the legacy of India has always been a united legacy. We have we have multiple religions. We have 9 religions that have been practiced, and even the Buddhism, which is practiced in various ways in China, is also practiced in India very much, and we have all lived together in great harmony and peace. Now, you see, where we are talking about a national consensus, a census, I have a data which is telling me that there has been no census recently since in 2021, there has been decentral census postponed by 150 years. Now, why should that have been the case? Because, when you get, there is a report, there is a study that is being done, which is, not done, and we are going by another kind of a data that is being offered to us, which also has to be factually, we have to endorse it. It has to be endorsed by the experts. Because over here, what I have been able to see, even though you've given me very, very short notice for this kind of talk, that there has been no data in the last, in October 2024, in the 9th extension, and there has been no report by the Registrar General for 2021, 22, 23, and this report is reported in the Hindu paper, and there has been, competent authorities have decided to further extend the date of freezing the administrative boundaries of the data up to June 2024. Now, what does this mean? And in the meantime, we come up with another report. I'm not doubting that report. I'm simply saying that we have to have a definite and a positive and a 100% correct answer.
Ma'am,
Because,
ma'am, let me tell you that even if you consider the last census, which was till 2011, according to that as well, if I'm not mistaken, the growth of the Muslim population was somewhere
14 point some percent, and there is 79%, 80% of Hindus over there. So what we see, what we look at, Vineet, is something that you have to, and the entire data of the other religions has also been given, religion-wise.
No, ma'am. What we are doing is, what the discussion is about whether, this is something to celebrate. This is something to, in fact, let the Muslim community see, introspect, and enjoy. Because if you look at your neighbors, if you look at Arab countries, if you look at the Gulf countries, and you see what's happened there to minorities and what's still happening in Bangladesh, in Pakistan, or even in China for that matter, what they're doing to the Uyghur Muslims, it calls for a pause and introspection by the Muslim community and realize that this is a country which obviously allows anybody and everybody to prosper as long as the community itself realizes the boon in this particular system.
You're quite right, and I totally agree with you. We are all citizens of this country with equal rights, and we have equal, balances, checks and balances in everything we do. And you're quite right. Pakistan is a failed state. We don't even want to talk about it. And the treatment of minorities there is absolutely obnoxious. And there's no doubting that, even in Bangladesh. But here, when we are talking about, look at the Middle East today. We have seen the rise of a beautiful temple out there in Dubai, and it's a large temple for which, our Honorable Prime Minister went for the inauguration. And people have celebrated over there the 27th Rosa, out there. So I thought it was, one of the most, that has opened its arms and opened its doors. A country that, if you look at it 10 years ago, thought differently, but today is thinking differently. So the world is changing, Vineet. You see, everyone in the world is changing. And I think, this entire religion, somehow or the other, which has become so dominant, a dominant factor, in our conversation, has to now deplete into we, the citizens of India. How do we take India forward? Yes. How do we control the population? There is no doubt that there is need.
Absolutely, ma'am. Let me also rope in Major Mohammad Ali Shah into this. Ali, what about education in the Muslim community? That's always been, a contentious point of view. Whether it be it madrasas or having education. That's for Mohammad Ali Shah, or having education which facilitates a system which the rest of India, the rest of the world is getting accustomed to, and that obviously spells out economic progress as well. And like I've already highlighted, I've elucidated at the beginning in my monologue that, the more educated you are, the lesser chances of you having more than 2 children or lots of children, as is the case with the Muslim community at this point in time. And that, it wouldn't be a surprise to find out that is the reason for this population boom as well since 1950. Mohammad Ali Shah, please address the question I've asked you.
Okay, Preet, you mentioned about 1950. So from 1950 to 2015, the Muslim population share in India, as per the report you were mentioning just now by Apurva Kumar Mishra and it was by Sharmika Ravi, and so it surged by 43.15%. Christians saw a 5.38% increase. Sikhs with an 6.58% rise. The Buddhists witnessed a slight increase. The Muslim share in the population.
That's not important, really. That's not important. Just let's talk about the Muslim samudaya. Let's talk about the Muslim community and the question I've asked you, please.
Okay, so the data as this. Now, if you read Mr. S.Y. Qureshi's book, Sayyid Yaqub Qureshi, the former Chief Election Commissioner of India, he has proved in statistics that this big Muslim population increasing is a myth. Actually, it's not really been happening. It happened at a time, yes, but not anymore. It doesn't happen anymore. But anyhow, it was difficult for me myself to believe it. So I will go by. It was difficult for me to believe it. So I'll go by taken for granted that yes, Muslim population is on the rise. But as you had said earlier, I think the best country for minorities is India. You see what happens to minorities in Pakistan, in China, in Iran. There is no democracy there. You see how they're ill-treated over there. Pakistan especially is a very bipolar society. In India, we have the freedom to raise a voice, to protest, to oppose, to disagree. We complain. We complain that democracy is dying. But that's not the case. That could be a narrative which could be spreading now. One beautiful thing which I learned from my brother over here, once early last year, he had mentioned something very beautiful on a panel. He had mentioned, I'm a Muslim. And if I respect other communities will respect me. I learned that from him. I'm like, wow, that was beautiful words. And I so agree with that completely. And I think there is no one in danger with this narrative that Hindu khatre mein hai, Musliman khatre mein hai, koi khatre nahi. We are all as safe.
That also brings me to my next question, Ali, that, there are obviously apprehensions also in a lot of corridors that this rising population in the Muslim community is also perceived as a threat by many. How do you look at this, this thought rather? Because obviously it's a thought which is not true.
Definitely, it's a thought which is not true. And in any community which feels that they are in danger, they are under threat, that is not the case. We have seen that even during riots, God-forsaken things like riots, when there are a lot of Muslims which are attacked, Hindus have come forward to save them, and vice versa. When Hindus have been attacked, there have been a lot of Muslims who have been attacked.
Okay.
Muslims have come and saved them.
Dr. Abbas, how do you look at this? Apprehensions within a community that if the Muslim population gets to a certain point, it's going to be bad for us. Do you think this narrative or this thought being pushed around is political in nature? Or do you think it has its own social roots as well? And of course, politicians are not helping by using this to facilitate their own agendas.
Firstly, we need some total fertility rate. If you see the reports, the Muslims' total fertility rate has seen a decrease in percentage, and that's there are very conducive reports on the same with empirical evidence, data, study on ground. Now let us look at this. Economic Advisory Council out of nowhere during election they released. Let me tell you very importantly, ये public है, ये सब जानती है और जनता जनार्दन बुद्धिजीवी है. Look at the title right there, sir. It's a working paper series. A working paper series does not have empirical data, interviews, formulae, on-ground research, analysis, all of that. This is based on what others' books, research is there. Census, in the same hand, sir, has a complete scientific evidence and data. This is very important, sir. This largely is very important to know. The question to raise is, why didn't the ruling government do the census data in the year 21-22 where they were supposed to do? We are in the year 24, they have not done it. This, I feel today, it is not, see, what is wrong, I will tell you, sir. When a Modi ji comes out and says Mangal Sutra, when Modi ji comes out and says Zyada bacche karne wale, Ghuspetias, infiltrators, we Muslims are good, we Hindu brothers are good. But when politicians like Yogi Adityanath says Sharia law will be implemented here, Sharia law can never be implemented in my India. Sharia law is only implemented
Dr. Abbas,
in
that again is a political argument in nature, right? Because if Sam Pitroda can call people from South India Africans. He's perhaps called you an African as well.
Absolutely, Vineet Saab, you're my brother. And in fact, I was the first one to talk and give a statement that Sam Pitroda's statement is absolutely racist. I am a South Indian and I don't think I anyway feel or anything like an African, or my brothers in Northeast, they don't feel like Chinese. This is a stupid statement. I'm glad that this person has resigned. I condemn his statement unconditionally. Now, coming to this point, yes, Congress and Sam Pitroda is absolutely wrong on this front. We are brothers and sisters. We love this beautiful nation of India. Let me take a step ahead and say, I love my India more than any so-called Islamic country like Kuwait, Oman, or Saudi Arabia. Trust me, the freedom I get from my India, Seenat ji, my brother Muhammad Ali Shah will agree with you that you will not get even in Indonesia where Muslims are the highest. Now coming to the moot point. If we speak about Congress, they are wrong, sir. Two wrongs don't make it a right. When Pradhan Mantri Modi ji, a Vishwa Guru, a leader, one of the most powerful global leaders in the world, makes statements of Hindu Muslim. देखिए विनीत साहब, हम इतने भी तो भोले भाले नहीं हैं. We know we read between the lines. अमित शाह जी आके कहते हैं about inheritance tax and so on and so forth. Let us understand that we understand the Bharatiya Janata Party today is rattled, sir. Because phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 hasn't really gone down well
the
for
broader
them.
idea,
So
the broader,
let me tell you.
the broader idea is, I understand that we are again in.
Working paper series is undoubtedly holds no substantial ground, sir. Any scientist, any author with enough scientific mind will tell you this has no rational data here. This is only to create panic among the people.
Okay.
Zeenat ji is much more, I would say,
Zeenat Shaukat Ali,
Muhammad
right.
Ali Shah
The idea of this entire
They will call out.
conversation, Zeenat Shaukat Ali, was also to, in fact, elucidate a fact that, India is a tolerant nation. India has always been a tolerant nation, regardless of the communities, that are a part of it. There's never been a problem, with the Hindu community or the Muslim community per se. The problems that we see are more or less political in nature. They are agenda driven. And now I can very easily say that they are also propelled by a large degree by the Western media, because they obviously are intolerant of India's rise. They want to hit us where it hurts most because they remember the partition, they read about the partition, and they in fact also support the two-nation theory. But the fact of the matter is that, if India is a benign nation to the Muslims, then why isn't it something that is celebrated more often? Why do we only get to hear, the negative?
I completely agree with you. India has a large heart, extremely tolerant, accommodative. You imagine the amount of people who have come in here, who have lived, and we are absolutely unique. Neither the Western nations or any other nations can understand how we are built. What is our inbuilt structure and our inbuilt bridge building that we have amongst us, and how we live together. We have lived over centuries together. We may have our differences. Even in a family, brothers and sisters have differences. So what? But yes, and this has to be celebrated. I completely agree with you that this legacy of India, India's tolerance, India's coexistence, India's peace-loving nature, you have given birth to a man like Mahatma Gandhi, who is today a world-renowned figure, who has given you this concept of non-violence that nobody in the world has been able to practice. You tell me today, had they picked this part up, had they taken this from India, do you think that these kind of wars, horrendous and absolutely brutal kind of wars that we are seeing today, would have been waged? There would have been sensible talk. There would have been communication. There would have been negotiation. There would have been some kind of armistice, peace. But this is what India has taught us. We are a peaceful nation. We have had our ups and downs. We have had our highs and lows. And we are a people together. And I think this is a great celebration that India is unique. Undoubtedly,
Absolutely.
it is outstandingly unique in the whole world.
And Major Muhammad Ali Shah, in fact, let's also spend a minute or two on the education levels that exists amongst, the poorer Muslims of our nation. According to Islamic experts also, the Muslim community is the least educated, when it comes to economic prosperity. They are obviously way behind some of their counterparts. Is that something that is also contributing to this rise in population and abstention from lack of opportunities?
Right, yes, that also is one of the reasons, but not the only reason. And there are various other reasons like, there's lack of education basically, especially among the Muslims. And because they're not very well educated, they do not get good jobs. Because they don't get good jobs, their pay scale, their salary is always found wanting, it's always less. They always want better and more and want to do obviously like anybody else. So now when you don't get good education, you also not get good jobs. And so it's a vicious circle. So strengthen them in the education, strengthen them in the base and the foundation stage. So that when they graduate from school or college, they should be in a position now to give arms to a person who's a needy, rather than them taking arms and surviving on that. So most certainly, I think the way forward is society will not change unless until we change ourselves. The Muslim community definitely needs a lot of reforms. When we sit down to the reforms and we sit down and we work, okay, this is what used to happen earlier, let's try something, let's reinvent it now. And basically, I'm not talking about what's written, like for example, the Quran Sharif starts with Ikra, with the word Ikra. That means to read, to understand, knowledge, to gain knowledge, to educate. So certain things you cannot change. But certain things, certainly, most certainly, you have to. And the bottom crux of the crux is education needs. One word answer, education.
All right. Dr. Abbas, same question for you as well, and I see you have a point to make as well.
I think it's a very important question that you've asked, Vineet Saab. The fact is, if you take the Sachar Commission report, Ranganath Mishra report, also the Chinnappa Reddy report, all three respective reports have shown that the Muslim community has been the most backward class, even behind scheduled caste, even behind scheduled tribe in terms of education, society, economic reforms, unemployment. That's absolutely right. And I think that the respective governments are doing their best today. But the problem lies when BJP leaders come out and say that, speak of indifference. The fact is, BJP government speaks of not giving a reservation to Muslim, but in Gujarat, BJP ruled state, 20 years there has been a reservation for Muslim community. 22 castes of Muslims get the same OBC reservation quota. Not just that, Uttar Pradesh gives 2 subcastes of Muslims the same quota. Madhya Pradesh for the last 25 years has given 27 castes of Muslims the same OBC reservation quota. Not just that, Assam, Manipur has been the same. So I see a certain duplicity and hypocrisy in many of the BJP leaders and coming out and saying the same when their own states have been giving Muslim reservation in the OBC quota. And I give you the facts, sir. This can be double checked. The fact is, I believe कि Hindustan सिर्फ दिल वालों का नहीं, दिमाग वालों का भी है. And also coming to the Sharia law, sir, we Muslims are blessed to be born in a democracy. Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iran are all theocracies. It's a religion-ruled state. We are a government-ruled state by the people, for the people, and to the people. Let us not get into this frame. And the fact of the matter is, according to the total fertility ratio, we have dropped down. Muslims have decreased. The fact is, there has been education in terms of अब हम लोग नहीं रहे ज्यादा बच्चे करने वाले.
All right.
The fact is, I have my serious questions, reservations on this report. I find it of WhatsApp University. I find serious concern on this. There's a working paper series which cannot be taken seriously.
Okay, all right. That's perhaps a debate for another time, Dr. Abbas. But nevertheless, appreciate you wearing your heart on your sleeve, and obviously a lot of sense rather was made after speaking with everyone on this panel.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.